This week, we talk about cholesterol. Also, we'll take the mystery out of macros and check in to see if I'm any less fat. Let's get into it. Heavy metal. I remember in our first episode, Dewey, you said, that makes me want to lift something.
It does.
Heavy metal.
That's lifters music.
It's what you need.
It is.
I wonder if anybody listens to Air Supply when they're just like cranking weights.
I remember one time I got the most dirty looks ever at CrossFit when something like that bullshit came on, and I'm dying trying to finish this workout and something like that comes on. I'm like, is this the Titanic soundtrack? Why are we working out to this bullshit? Seriously.
Sailing, take me away.
I don't need love songs when I'm trying to clean 315.
Oh, yes.
Gee.
It's true, though, the adrenaline. You need that pump.
Oh,
you need the adrenaline from that
100%.
Shit, right? When I did my little YouTube video about my home gym, I pointed out how I had these Sonos speakers because they sound badass.
Yep.
And you got to have some Lamb of God, some Disturbed, that kind of shit.
Pantera.
Yeah, to get that last rep out. If you're trying to squeeze out an extra couple reps, that's how you do it.
Oh, I just got goosebumps thinking of Unbroken by Pantera.
Oh, I'm Broken, you mean?
Or yeah, sorry.
Yes, off Far Beyond Driven.
That's the.
Oh, dude.
I don't know if that's their best one or Vulgar Display of Power might be. I don't know. Do I have to choose?
You don't.
All
you
right.
just put Pantera on shuffle
Yeah.
and just crush the weights. All right, guys. Well, welcome to episode 9 of Fit and Furious. And this one is so chock full of goodness, we should charge double.
We will.
Yeah, we will. So whatever you're paying, double it. All right. Before we get into our topic this week, I want to show you this controversial tweet of the week. This guy's a really good follow on Twitter, Carnivore Aurelius.
Not to be confused with Marcus Aurelius.
Yes. He's kind of a dick, but he says some really profound stuff.
He's not dumb.
No, he's not dumb at all. He says some, he's very contrarian too. Like
for sure.
He's a
bit of a troll.
He's a kind of a troll. Yeah, he set Twitter aflame the other day because he said, I'm against fasting now. And then he had a list of reasons why. It increases estrogen. It increases your cortisol and like all these fairly, logical, reasoned reasons. But it went against everything that I had come to learn about fasting. So I was like, oh, God, I like this guy, but he's pissing me off. And he's, behind the keyboard going, ha, ha, ha.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
This creates engagement. But this tweet I thought was pretty ballsy. And just for the audio listeners, I'll read it. It says, before you improve your health, you need to realize that most doctors are full of shit. They are clueless when it comes to how to heal. Healing. They are living under a rock buried under 3 other bigger rocks. They couldn't get laid in a brothel. He's got to throw that in there just to be a dick. Don't trust them just because they have an MD. So,
So let's talk about cholesterol.
Right. See, that's what made me, when I saw this tweet, I thought, wow, this is true because, well, not necessarily true. I don't want to shit on all doctors, but there is the default position is you just trust what they say. And we're going to get into that when we get into cholesterol and my experience with my doctor. If I was to just follow their wisdom, I'd be taking a completely different path than if I questioned it a little bit. But most people, when they walk into the doctor, they just blindly, yep, sir, yes, sir. Tell me what to do, prescribe me whatever I need, and they don't even question it in the least.
Because they're doctors.
Yeah, there's this whole hierarchy and power imbalance where you think you're just a lowly pedestrian, and this person has had, 8 years of schooling, and obviously they know more than you.
You just totally reminded me of something. When I was at my doctor, she said, we started talking about nutrition. And I started talking about...
And you started rolling your eyes and how long after that?
No, she started...
5 seconds in?
No, she was really open-minded. So we started talking. She's a medical doctor.
Right.
She's an MD, general practice family physician. So we start talking about nutrition, and I started talking about what I was doing, and we started talking about the body's response to macronutrients and how I have some carb sensitivity and hormone imbalance and blah, blah, blah. We started going into all this stuff. Anyways, we go deep down the rabbit hole. And she stops and she goes, there's a really good chance you know more about this than I do.
Hey,
name one doctor that would ever say that.
That's huge. Yeah. I mean,
my wife thinks it's because she's a female, and female are just
more
naturally gracious. And,
yeah. There's some
and
of
she's
that.
probably right.
And
but she was like, yeah, there's a good chance you know more than I do.
And she knew how to work you. She knows this guy needs to be right, so I'm going to let him be right.
Oh, 100%, which is also a female attribute.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, that's true. But well, the thing is, I wish, and we talked about this last week some, talking about keto and just how some doctors are open-minded enough to actually see what's working. And, and that's kind of why keto is spreading throughout the community, the medical community, because when something actually works and people get results and people actually lose weight.
Well, eventually, doctors are learning that eventually they have to stop trying to push the rope and realize that
right, push the rope. I like that.
This is the thing. And we have to be open-minded about it.
Exactly. So, anyways, follow Carnivore Aurelius, and it's at Keto Aurelius is his Twitter handle. So he's pretty hilarious dude on the Twitter.
Speaking of, we were discussing off the air, pretending like we're radio guys,
yes.
about Rob Wolf talking about what was next.
Oh, yeah.
Guess what he did say?
What's that?
It's not carnivore. He said that's not it. So I was like, I agree. It's too extreme. That's not what's next.
Well, it's really going to be interesting because there's hasn't really been any long-term studies with large groups of people, so we don't know. We don't have the data to determine or declare. And again, that's one of the good things that I've seen, at least amongst the carnivore people that I follow, is they're not dogmatic about it. They're always adjusting and refining. Like even Paul Saladino's like eating honey and
berries,
and just trying different kinds of stuff and experimenting. And they're because it's not an ethical, dogmatic, religious type belief, that he's willing to adjust his opinion based on results. Right. Which is huge.
A little context for listeners. I was listening to a podcast featuring Rob Wolf as the guest, and you can look him up. We won't go into his biography. But anyways, he was talking about nutritional trends and changes in the lifespan of certain, just the diets and the nutritional methods that we've experienced over the years, and how we're due for another one. So they're trying to predict what's next. What's that going to be?
Right.
And then that's why I thought of when I saw his name, Carnivore Aurelius, I thought that reminded me that he said, it's not it.
Yeah, well, it's.
And he said, like vegan, it's too extreme.
Right. Well, we don't know. Like I said, we don't have the long-term data to see.
And we won't. Because it shifts too much.
Well, exactly. And who's paying for these studies?
Right.
If there's not a bunch of money to be made, then there's probably not going to be a large study about it.
So if someone was really smart, they would come up with a method that's just simply not a bunch of processed bullshit, hyper-palatable foods.
Yeah.
That's the new method.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
We'll see.
Just like everything, you gotta experiment on yourself, and you gotta do what works for you, and try to sort. This is a horrible analogy or phrase, but sort the wheat from the chaff, right?
Absolutely.
Actually, keep the wheat and the chaff over there because I don't want any of that.
Well, you can eat the germ and the.
Well, whatever that phrase is.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Another thing I saw that was kind of interesting here in fitness, speaking of trends and things, you use a wearable device, right?
Garmin.
To track a Garmin. Okay, so that tracks your heart rate and sleeping.
My every move.
Respiration and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, it's ballpark stuff. Yeah. It gives me my VO2 max, but if you know anything about VO2 max, without actually having a machine that's measuring your respiration, it's really hard to determine VO2 max.
Right. But it gives you, like everything, it's a baseline and gives you an establishment of your trend. and seeing where you're.
VO2 max is a very, very good indicator of overall health.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, just for the idiots out there like me, what is that?
That's how much VO2, it's the volume of oxygen that you can actually take in.
Oh, okay.
And it's measured in milliliters, I believe.
Okay.
So, yeah, really, really good is like phenomenal is like 80.
Okay.
And lower is bad. So if you're 20, 30, you're probably not very good.
Right.
I'm a little above average at like 50.
Okay.
So my
Who would be an example, like a marathon runner or somebody would be?
a cycle like Lance Armstrong.
Oh, okay.
It would be like he was like 96, I think,
Right.
just off the charts.
He also had the max amount of steroids in his system too, but who's counting?
Yeah, that's just a little bump extra. He still had the genetics.
Yeah. Well,
Give Pee Wee Herman all the steroids he wants. He's not winning Mr. Olympia.
yeah. Well, the funny thing about that, if you've ever watched the documentaries on, I think there's a documentary all about that whole scandal and of this Russian doctor was.
Oh, that's Icarus.
Yeah. Oh, Icarus.
Oh, that's bomb.
Yeah,
that's
that was crazy.
Such a
Crazy
good
shit.
documentary. The dude's like legit, like a Jason Bourne movie. He's like, they're gonna fucking kill me.
Yeah.
And he's like fearing for his life.
Oh,
he has to
yeah.
leave the country
Yeah.
in the dark of night. I mean, it's like
Crazy,
jeez.
crazy documentary. But the lesson there was that basically you had to be on some sort of performance enhancing drug just to be anywhere in the ballpark.
Be competitive.
Yeah, if you didn't, you were not even gonna.
You're out.
Why
Yeah.
bother? Yeah. So
Yep.
I mean, it wasn't. You get a lot more empathy for Lance Armstrong and all those guys really, because
For sure. Because if they don't do it,
if you could level the playing field and everybody'd be clean, that's one thing. But that was not happening.
no, they can level the playing field by just making it legal.
Right? Just let everybody.
Just
do it,
let
yeah.
everyone do it.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing it.
Just go nuts.
It's so just have at it. It's the only way to solve the PED problem,
Exactly. All right. Well,
and it's more fun.
speaking of wearables and devices and stuff, I saw this thing that was kind of interesting. Looks like Google is going to make it so their Fit for Android app can measure your heart and respiratory rate just using your phone. And apparently it's going to use the camera to somehow track this stuff, which I thought was pretty interesting because, the whole wearable thing is, I mean, do the Apple Watches do that? And
I think it's a horrible idea.
Fitbit and Nooms. And
I think this is a horrible idea. You know why? Because people are trying to get rid of having to carry their phone when they work out. It's going the other way.
Right. Yeah.
I have a wearable because I don't want to carry my goddamn phone when I'm running.
Right.
So they're doubling down on people wanting to carry their phones.
Yeah. Well, look at this. It says you place your fingertip fully over the camera, and it can tell the subtle light changes from your pulse, and that's how it detects it. So kind of crazy.
So I'm guessing that is.
It's more for a spot measurement. It's not going to be like
That's what
yeah,
that is.
it's probably like that. Yep.
That's what that's already doing. But guess what? I don't have to carry my clunky phone.
I think it's for people that don't want to buy an extra, whatever that costs, watch thing
A lot.
or a Fitbit or whatever. Oh, exactly, a lot. And it's probably for people that are just kind of casually interested in it.
Yeah, because unless you've ran at a significant pace with your phone,
I run in it only an insignificant pace.
that's a thing. But running with your phone is bullshit. Bouncing around. That's crap.
Well, what I do is I get a helmet that has a gooseneck mount on it, and I just
Sure.
flip so I can watch some cartoons.
Okay.
I've only been hit by cars 6 times. It's fine.
It's fine.
All right, so
So interesting enough. I mean, Google, they own everything else.
yeah. Well, what they don't tell you is they're also tracking your eye movements and getting your passwords for everything and your shopping history. That's really what they're doing when you're putting your fingerprint on there.
Right.
Stealing your fingerprints for.
That reminds me, I was watching someone's Facebook the other day. They put, what birthday or what movie was number 1 when you turned 21? And people are like, oh, posting pictures, Men in Black. And I'm like, okay, Cindy said the number 1 movie when she turned 21 was Men in Black. Google, what year did Men in Black come out?
Yep.
3 searches and a couple of math problems, and I know her birth date.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I got her DOB
Yeah.
and her full name.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm like,
That
I
shit's
ain't
out there.
playing.
That shit's out there, man. Oh, there's no hiding it. All right, so we actually got a listener question this week.
Nice.
Amazing. Oh, I meant this one.
I was going to say, that's so funny.
That's awesome. So Joanne from Ames, Iowa wants to know, and this is referring back to our Zone 2 protocol episode we did a few episodes ago. She says, so if I decide to train for something such as a 5K, how does that fit with Zone 2 training, especially when my Zone 2 walking on a treadmill is at a snail's pace? Is it better to keep doing Zone 2 for another couple of months, doing this 3 times a week, and lifting my baby weights, doing this 3 times a week, for another couple of months, and then train for the 5K? What say you, Dewey?
No. You are currently training for the 5K, doing Zone 2 that you're doing right now. Just keep going. It takes a tremendous amount of patience.
Yes.
And it takes a tremendous amount of discipline to just keep going at that pace in that anaerobic pathway.
Right.
I'm sorry, aerobic pathway. I always get them mixed up. The aerobic pathway that you want to stay in for Zone 2 is going to get you much healthier. And here's the reason why. I want Joanne to stay in Zone 2 right up until the race, even during the race. Because what happens is people train, let's just say Zone 2, Zone 3, doesn't matter, but they train at a certain threshold all year long. And then what happens when they get to the race?
They go balls
They
out.
go balls out and they fall over
Right.
because their heart's like, whoa, what's this 180 stuff?
So by the time you get there, you've done what you can do,
Right.
and you just got to roll with that.
Yep. And you can go a little harder on race day.
Well, and I suppose then you have to also know at what point can I kick in the afterburners and just go balls out, because the finish line is X amount of time away.
Which is why during the training protocol, on top of Zone 2, you occasionally want to do that kick at the end. Like, so I'll do Zone 2 for an hour or 90 minutes. And when I get to like the last mile, I ramp up.
It's just like
It's the end of the race.
See if you got any left in the tank.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to fall over
Right.
before the finish line.
But I made sure that my Zone 2 training was enough.
Right.
So there's 45 minutes there that are just solid Zone 2.
Okay.
And then at the end, I just kick it down. So no, keep doing the Zone 2. And when you say start training for the 5K, you already are.
That's what it's doing.
Yep, that's what you're doing right now. You've
it.
already started training.
All right. Well, thanks for that question, Joanne from Ames, Iowa. And anyone else has any questions out there, send us an email to info@fitandfurious.com. All right. Well, let's get into our term of the week here. And we've talked about this a bunch. And we're going to define macros. So when we're always talking about macros, we're throwing the term around. We're saying, are you sticking to your macros? What about your macros? What are you doing for your macros? Let's define what that is. And really, it's short for macronutrients. And I'm reading off this website here, which I'll post a link to, of course. And it says macro is short for macronutrient. What's a macronutrient? There's 3 categories of nutrients you eat most and provide you with most of your energy: protein, carbohydrates, and fats. So when you're counting your macros, you're counting the grams of protein, carbs, or fat that you're consuming. So that's the very simplified version of what a macro is. Now, you mentioned last week there's actually 5, right? We said alcohol and fiber were the other 2.
Yeah,
But
they're
your body chooses to burn off first.
the ugly stepchildren
Right.
of macros. They don't count, like they're not in the family picture.
It's kind of like when you call Y a vowel,
Yeah, right.
or when young is sometimes in Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Sure.
Sometimes Y. Right. So when people are saying macros, that's really what they're talking about is of your full plate, what percentage is made up of proteins, what percentage is made up of carbohydrates, what percentage is made up of fat. So when you're trying to hit those, let's say you had to hit, 1,500 calories a day. If you were eating 500 of each, that would be, your macros would be equal. And if they say you're doing super low carb and you're only eating protein and fat, let's say you're doing 750 of each, that would be a 1-to-1 ratio of those macros. And people talk about, well, you can try adjusting those ratios. So like if you're trying to maybe lose weight, maybe you drop the fat ratio, keep the protein higher, that's kind of what you're playing with when you're talking about adjusting those ratios of macros.
Yep.
So that's,
You nailed it.
I nailed it. Yes. So that is a macro.
Counting macros.
Counting macros.
It's all bullshit. It is.
Pray tell.
Quality of food matters.
Yes, of course.
Period.
Yep.
Period. End of subject. Quality of food matters.
So
roll down. I want to see what that professional memorizer says from Montana. Claire, a registered dietitian, aka professional memorizer from Montana.
Yep.
It also might help people meet their fitness goals because they'll be having a greater satiety. How do you know? What are the macros?
Right.
So,
this one is, again, you have to. This is why you need to go get tested for your body fat percentage, your basal metabolic rate, your total daily energy expenditure. You need to know what your activity level is, all those things, but to even know where to set your calorie.
Let me
counts.
rephrase. Counting macros is not bullshit, but all it is marketing.
Right.
It's Peter Drucker. You ever heard of Peter Drucker?
No.
A famous economist. He's famous, Austrian, for business.
Okay.
Just an amazing business mind. He said all business comes down to either innovation or marketing.
Right.
If you're not innovating, you're just marketing. So what people decided to do was, wait, if macronutrients, so if protein is 4 calories, carbs are 4 calories, and fat is 9
per gram or whatever.
Per gram. Yep. Well, then those are calories, and then we can put them into macros.
Right.
And we can count them that way. But it's not counting calories. It's counting macros.
Right.
Shut up.
It's just
Stop telling people. It's just marketing. They're just trying to spin it. It's still counting calories because every macro has a calorie value.
Yeah,
it's
so basically
just marketing.
It's just associating ratios to the calorie. It's a calorie ratio, just another way of repackaging that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not innovation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Marketing.
Right. I like that.
So,
and really, we're just defining it so people know what we're talking about when we're saying
absolutely.
that.
Yeah. It's important to know.
But yeah,
it's important to know.
Understand what they're talking about.
It's important to know. Why do people say, well, this thing has a lot of fat? Holy crap, it has a lot of calories too. Well, because fat has more calories. It has 9 calories per gram.
Right.
So,
yep.
But when people say,
that's why heavy cream is so freaking fattening.
Just a quarter cup, like 7,000 calories.
As I slurp my Caribou XL.
But it's the if it fits your macros trend. You can eat whatever you want as long as it fits your macros.
Right.
So my professional memorizer, she said I can eat all the cake I want as long as it fits my macros. Oh yeah, Karen? So how much cake can you eat? Tell me how much cake fits into your macros.
Not very much.
None. Right. It's stupid. Just stop saying that stuff. Like I had a bite on Tuesday. I had enough carbohydrates left over that I could have, and that's the scam. That's the marketing gimmick.
Right.
Is they say if it fits your macros, you can still eat all the foods you love. Okay, awesome. Here's my $300.
Right.
Now, when do I get cake? No, you don't. Because cake doesn't fit your macros. That's not what you said.
Right.
You said I could eat all the foods I love, and I love cake. So where's my goddamn cake? Doesn't work that way, but thanks for the $300.
I started salivating because when I saw macros, I thought it said macaroni. Macaroni don't fit my macros.
Spoken like a fat kid.
All right. Okay, so that was macronutrients, and Dewey just went off on a rant there.
Oh, don't even get me. That was nothing. That was tame. Counting macros can help you lose stubborn body fats. Sorry, I'm still reading that. Put that site down. I'm gonna
we're getting rid of
more
this.
and more pissed off.
We're getting rid of this one. All right.
Whoa.
Okay, let's get into our topic for the week of cholesterol. Now, I'm going to tell you how this all came about.
Besides the 4,000 people when I talk about keto go, oh, not about your cholesterol.
Well, there's some myth busting that's going to go on here.
Who told you to ask me that?
Now, if you're on YouTube, you know, if you're listening, go on YouTube because we're going to be talking about what I'm holding up right here, which is my doctor results of my blood work when I got my physical.
If you eat another piece of meat, you're dead. Did I just summarize it?
Pretty much. Oh. I got my results back and it pissed me off. And I was thinking, if you're just a regular dude and you're not into this shit, you're just going to do what they say.
For sure.
You're just going to follow what they say, and that's going down a very bad path.
I'm surprised you didn't leave there and go buy a box of cereal. Special K.
Heart healthy Cheerios.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just clean those pipes out.
Well, first of all, cholesterol is very confusing, right? It's something that not a lot of people know very much about, and there's tons of information.
And you eat it, but it's bad for you because it
clogs
your
you need
pipes,
some.
but you need it or you'll die, and your body can't make it, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it is very
confusing.
Very cloudy out there. There's a lot of information on both sides for and against. Like, you know, half the community says cholesterol is going to kill you. If you have high cholesterol, you need to do something to get it down, whether it's diet or medicines. And the other half says, hey, high cholesterol, great. Your body needs that. And there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, it's beneficial. So if you're just an average Joe out there, it's very, very confusing. So traditionally, why do we care about cholesterol at all? Because it was seen as a marker, an indicator of elevated risk for heart attack, stroke.
Well, we've all seen the graphic where it's going down the artery and it starts plugging and slowly plugging.
And that's the whole myth that's out there is, and I've had people with PhDs, very intelligent people, tell me, oh, you're just eating all that meat? It's going to clog your arteries. And they're literally thinking of it visually like when you pour bacon grease down the drain.
Right.
And that's the visual that they're getting is it's going to literally harden up and restrict the amount of circulation that can go down the drain, just like bacon grease would. And that's how they're visualizing it. And that's 100% not true. So that's kind of the perception. And that's why the whole fat's going to make you fat. Fat's going to clog your arteries. Saturated fat's bad. Red meat's bad. And in this whole, the last 40 plus years of fat being demonized, that's been the messaging that we've all heard. That's why people with PhDs or intelligent people will say those types of things and not have any awareness of really what's going on. So cholesterol was seen as a marker, an indicator of elevated risk. And my research says, and of course, do your own research. I'm just telling you what I found out here. The most recent research is there's really none that tie the two together. It's all epidemiology, which is basically people self-reporting.
Yep.
It's not true controlled.
It's anecdotal.
It's not true controlled, randomized controlled trials. So just to define some terms here, there's total cholesterol, which is just a number. And that actually was the one that back in the day, that's all they cared about, total cholesterol. That's high, ooh, bad. Mm-hmm. And that's how eggs got demonized and red meat and everything.
Coffee.
Yeah. So they
back and forth.
Yeah, you had to get that number down.
Mm-hmm.
And really all the research now is that total cholesterol is completely meaningless. Even my doctor doesn't take the total cholesterol number really into account.
Right.
Which is kind of interesting. So at least they've made a little progress there. And okay, then there's
when do we get to the part where you fight your doctor?
I just roll my eyes.
Okay.
So there's total cholesterol, there's LDL, HDL, and triglycerides. That's the other three terms besides total cholesterol that are involved here. And the LDL being high, that used to be something that people cared about too, and there's almost zero risk associated with that either. And interestingly enough, and Dr. Eric Westman is one of the people that I followed for this, and I'll put all these videos that I watched and everything in the show notes. Of course, you can do your own research and check these out. And basically, he said the old way was that total cholesterol and LDL were bad, and now the new way is the triglyceride to HDL ratio is the thing that they're concerned about, but not even that much.
Sure.
Because really, the low carb and the carnivore guys, they're not really worried about cholesterol at all. And Dr. Ken Berry, who's one of the really most intelligent carnivore keto people about this stuff, he says, and he has actually a great quote here. I got to find this quote. He says, I got to find this exact quote.
Can I tell my story while you're looking
Oh,
for
no,
it?
I found it.
Oh, okay.
He says, having an elevated A1C, so that's your blood sugar, being pre-diabetic or diabetic, is a shotgun pointed at your heart. Having an elevated LDL is like having a BB gun pointed at your leg. So you don't care. It's like, bring it on.
That's a 2x4 across the face.
Right. So I thought that was a great way of putting it. Yes, technically, yeah, it's a thing.
Have another orange.
It's a thing, but I don't care if I get hit in the leg with a BB gun.
Right.
I care if I get hit with a shotgun in the heart.
Right.
So he's saying you're worrying about the wrong stuff. And what Ken Berry says actually raises your risk of heart trouble, not cholesterol, and this is going to sound like we're beating a drum, we're beating a dead horse here.
Your waist, never do that.
Your waist to height ratio, he said if you have to pick one single metric, that's it. Boom. So,
we're out.
That's pretty much it. He's like, that takes care of so many freaking problems. If you reduce your waist to height ratio, and what he says for reference, you want to be at 0.5 or below. So according to, how fat is Josh tracker.
Pretty fat.
Right. When I started, I was at 41 inches, and I'm 5'8", so what's that, 68 inches? So I should be at 34 or less.
Right.
In order to be considered not at risk or in the good category. So I'm just above that right now because I'm at a 36 when we last measured. We're going to see where I'm at this week.
You're on the right track.
I'm getting there. I was at a 41. Mm-hmm. But, your average person is probably above that. And that's where well, definitely above.
You're sugarcoating it. Don't, because they'll eat that too.
Problem is exactly. So your waist to height ratio, the circumference of your waist, how fat are you basically? How much extra fat are you carrying around?
That's indicative of visceral fat.
That's what puts you at risk for heart and stroke issues, diabetes, all these things. COVID, we talked about last week.
Yep.
People that are overweight are way more susceptible to having COVID, spreading COVID, having more serious outcomes.
So much, in fact, I was looking at the list of people in the phases now to get the shot. Obesity is like the number one thing.
Yeah, they get jacked up. You're better.
I thought it didn't matter.
Yeah,
now it's like that's an underlying. You're like one of the first people rushed to the front of the line.
Yeah, just because you're fat, a self-inflicted health condition.
I don't care about that. Get them to the front of the line if that's what it is, but don't say that that's not the case.
Right.
Don't go. I'm obese, so I needed my shot right away.
So
I'm on the list.
So you're saying a fat 50-year-old might get ahead of a in shape 70-year-old.
100%.
Right.
But here's the problem with that whole concept is they just got done telling me that obesity had nothing to do with COVID fatalities. Mm-hmm. What? Then why are they getting rushed to the front of the line?
Oh, no. You shared a study on Facebook that said it was like 70% or something.
Yeah.
Were of the people that had serious complications were obese or overweight.
Exactly.
Yeah, you need to fix that. And here's more evidence, if your waist to height ratio is a single biggest metric, and Ken Berry just lays this out, that's what puts you at risk, not your cholesterol level. So if you can do anything, it's get your weight down.
Well, and that's where my story throws a wet blanket on the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Is I was at risk with high cholesterol and high blood pressure. And what did they want to do? They wanted to put me on statins.
So back when you were chubby Dewey?
Yep. And they wanted to put me on statins and high blood pressure medicine.
Now, what was your
I don't remember.
thoughts? Well, not your numbers, but what was your thoughts when they were saying that? Because this is before you knew nutrition stuff and you hadn't gone down the rabbit hole.
Shit. So I said, well, then I have to eat right. But I didn't eat right.
Now, what was eating right according to your doctor, though?
Well, you got just food pyramid. But
which, by the way, check out our new shirt here on YouTube, The Real Food Pyramid.
Chickens.
Check it out on FuriousMerch.com. Get your own.
Chickens don't matter.
That's why they're tiny at the top, right? It still tastes good.
It's the appetizer. It's like on Last Man Standing when he says, I got lamb, steak, chicken, pork, And then one of his daughters goes, well, where's the vegetables? He goes, I said chicken.
That's good. Oh, shit.
Anyways, point of my story real quick.
You were chubby dude.
I was chubby and I was downright fat.
Yep.
And they said, you need to get on a statin and a blood pressure med. And I said, no, I'm just going to lose weight.
So how did you
just
know
lost-
that those, intuitively, how did you think those are bad? Because he
told me. I didn't know the difference. So I listened to him because he's a doctor and he had the white coat and I didn't. So I said,
no,
okay.
but I mean, how did you know I don't want to be on the statins or the blood pressure meds? How did
Because
you?
I'm prideful.
Okay, so you were like, I don't need that help.
I don't need that help. I'm going to fix it by getting in shape.
But most people don't. They just say, all right, if I can keep eating my
Right?
donuts,
Pump them in.
give me the.
I'm like, screw this. I'm not going to have these drugs. So what did I do? I went out and busted my ass and I lost a bunch of weight. But guess what? I didn't change my diet.
Right. So you just outworked it.
Well, no, I just changed how much I ate.
Oh, okay.
But let me rephrase. I did change my diet, but I didn't stop eating red meat.
Oh, hell no.
I didn't stop eating animal fat.
Yep.
I just lost weight.
Right.
And guess what? I went back and, oh, good job. You don't need meds.
Nice.
I didn't eat grains and all these.
Yeah. Reduce your saturated fats.
Yeah, I didn't go vegan.
And that's what I want to talk about. Okay, let's get
Anyways,
into my...
I probably wasn't telling that story very well.
Oh, that makes sense because, yeah, you're basically saying you didn't do the statins, but you also didn't avoid the saturated fat. And that's what pissed me off when I got this, okay? So my total cholesterol, 207, and they want you to be under 200. So it's not even that crazy, but he didn't like it. Interestingly, my fasted glucose was 76. That's pretty good, right?
That's good. Yeah. It's real good.
And he said, here's what his comment is. Lipid panel is a bit abnormal, but you should respond to dietary modifications and regular exercise. So he's basically saying,
He triggered you.
oh, he triggered me, pissed me off because he's basically saying you're on the path to, okay, you can handle it now with dietary modifications, but if you don't, you're on the path to medication, you know?
Get out that script book.
Oh, I was like, oh, dude.
Yeah, you had a statin coming.
And then he gives me this pamphlet, printout thing. It talks about cholesterol and the bad kinds, and it's going to increase your risk of heart attack and stroke. And the thing that pissed me off was, can I lower my cholesterol without medicines? Okay, this is his little informational packet. Yes, you can lower your cholesterol some by, number one, first thing, what does that say? Avoiding red meat, butter, fried foods, cheese, and other foods that have saturated fat.
Well, he got one right.
Yeah, fried foods.
Avoiding fried foods.
Right.
Why? Because it's in vegetable oil.
Yeah, exactly. And then second bullet point, losing weight if you're overweight. Third bullet point, being more active. Okay, so it's the standard bullshit about eat more heart healthy Cheerios. Because if I read this and I didn't know any better, I would think switch from steak or eggs and bacon in the morning and have Cheerios instead because that's heart healthy.
And wheat toast.
And then get on the treadmill, right?
Yep.
And that would be following his advice. And where do you think that would get me knowing what we know now?
Right.
Probably closer to diabetic for one.
Right.
All my markers would go in the wrong direction. So yeah, that pissed me off.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
So, and it's smart because they mail that out. They don't give it to you in person so that they're not delivering that news in person.
Right.
Otherwise he would have seen my eyes would have rolled so hard. I would have had to go to the optometrist after.
But I mean, at what point do they give you a stress test and an EKG and actually see what's going on instead of just looking at that number?
Well, right, but the whole point I want to make about this is, if I wouldn't be questioning this, I would have just said, well, guess I better change the diet to what he says, and then that wouldn't have worked. And 5 years later, my cholesterol would be the same, and I probably would have gained it. Definitely wouldn't have lost weight if I started eating Cheerios in the morning instead of eggs.
Well, no,
unless I'm really restricted.
No, your cholesterol may have went down, but then you'd have a fasted glucose of 118.
Right. And I would just have all these other markers and I'd still have weight on me. And instead I would just have diabetes.
So instead you went down your doctor's path of the shotgun to the heart.
Exactly.
Versus the BB gun to the leg.
BB gun to the leg. Yeah. So
doctors are dumb.
So Ken Berry, he's one of the ones that, and
yeah,
I'm going to post
he's
all
a
these
smart
videos.
guy.
He actually looks at outcomes. He's concerned with outcomes. He's not dogmatic. He's not into, oh, this is what I learned 20 years ago in medical school.
That's like what today when I told people that a CBD oil is just without THC is just or CBD
Placebo.
oil is just a placebo.
And
And
you triggered people on that one.
they got mad. And guess what? I just looked at outcomes. I tried it. I tried 2 different kinds. Snake oil. Didn't do shit.
That was actually what it was named.
No, it should be. You know what the funny thing is, though?
If anybody had any balls, they'd call it. They'd mark it as snake oil.
That's fun.
CBD.
That's fantastic. No, the whole point of my story, though, was, and not to get political,
Yeah.
and not express my libertarianism,
Right.
but just put the fucking THC in it. Quit screwing around.
Yeah. Give the people what they want.
Right. Healing. The THC is what's going to heal you.
Exactly.
THC is going to cure your anxiety.
Right.
CBD oil squeezed out of a leaf is not going to do shit.
It's the same as essential oils,
Right.
which is basically just like, do you want your house to smell a little different? Put an essential oil in. If you're buying it for that reason, fine. But if you expect your essential oil in some type of vaporizer to affect your health in any way, you are
Wrong.
That's right, Daddy. Okay, so back to Ken Berry. He's talking about what really is going to affect your risk for elevated chance of heart disease and stroke. Waist to height ratio.
Where did we
Your
hear
fasting
that?
insulin or
where did we
A1C?
hear that before?
Yeah, this
That
is
waist size.
this is the key. I mean, you need to get your weight down. That is the most important thing you can do. Reduce your visceral fat. He says, okay, fasting insulin level or A1C high. Another horrible marker. Inflammatory markers. So your C-reactive protein, C-peptide level, etc.
Right.
Now, I had a little interesting story. And for me, like I told you the story last week about my sinusitis when I went to the allergy doctor.
Yeah.
And they ran the full battery and I wasn't allergic to any one thing, but I just had general inflammation. And that was when I was eating the standard American diet. Another way that I've seen this, and this, of course, this is just anecdotally, but for me, is plantar fasciitis.
Oh.
Big time. Okay, when I'm eating carbs, I fall off the wagon. The back of your heel, and people that don't know what that is, it's like when your Achilles tendon like attaches to your heel. It feels like somebody tapped on the bottom of your heel with a ball peen hammer and bruised it. I mean, it hurts like a mofo. And I used to try all kinds of like weird stretching and stuff to loosen it up. But I found that it's completely inflammation triggered.
For sure.
So
With
when
everything.
I fall off the wagon, that's one place where I'll see it. Like my bottom of my heels will start. I'll wake up like, oh God, you have to like gently walk around.
Really?
Oh, it hurts. Hurts like a mofo. And when I'm off carbs, that inflammation goes away, cures it 100%. So just another inflammatory kind of, my own anecdotal inflammatory marker. And you always talk about your
My knee hurts
various
just 'cause
aches
you're
and
talking
pains and
about
stuff.
it. As soon as I went off keto, my knee started hurting.
Exactly.
It's probably just in my head.
You need rub some CBD oil on it.
Right. I'll inject CBD oil straight into my knee.
Exactly. So there's another guy called Dr. Eric Westman. I'll just show these. I'm not going to play these videos, but I'll just show you what they're called here if you're watching on YouTube. So Dr. Eric Westman, he's another real pioneer in the low carb space, and he's treating his patients using diet mostly, and he's got tons of people off their diabetic medications and avoiding heart disease and stroke and all the things that we're trying to avoid here.
I may have mentioned this before in a past episode, but because my memory is like a minute. But there's a keto doctor in Fargo,
Oh, really?
in a clinic
Oh, wow.
in Fargo, and he specializes in all sorts of stuff.
That's cool.
But the ketogenic diet supervision is one of them.
We'll have to find that dude and get him on the show.
Absolutely.
So Eric Westman, Dr. Eric Westman, his what he says is the biggest risk factor is high blood pressure. So that was his. So really, those are the things you want to avoid: the high blood pressure, the inflammatory markers, the waist to height ratio, and the high fasting insulin. Those are the things that are actually going to result in bad outcomes if you don't get those under control. Not high cholesterol. So what do most people recommend when they hear this? Your cholesterol is high. It's always reduce saturated fat. We talked about that. And then if you don't reduce it through dietary means, which you won't if you're just eating, Cheerios and crap. Next step, statins. Now, did you know that statins are now if you were a drug company and you were tasked with developing the most profitable possible thing that you could sell out there, what would it be?
Viagra.
I like that. Close. Well, that's definitely a close one, but
No, it would be something that cures a symptom of obesity.
and something that you have to take every goddamn day, right?
Yeah.
That's why
Consumable,
statin
yep.
is the perfect freaking drug, because once you're on it, guess what happens? You're never off.
No.
Anybody that ever gets on a statin, just like people that get on the type 2 diabetes drugs, they're on them. It's for life. So if I'm 50 this year, if I would have gotten on a statin in 5 years, I'm going to be on that statin for probably 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the perfect drug for a pharmaceutical company to develop, because you got to buy it it's going to get prescribed to tons of people and they're going to have to take it every day. So it's the perfect profitable drug.
Have you, anybody who is ever told by their doctor, I like that in there, Wolfson says these pill pushers. If anyone is ever told that they need to go on a statin, before you make that decision, just do yourself one favor. Read the side effects.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get into that. First, I'm going to talk about the money.
Side effects are, one of them is death. Death is a side effect? How is death a side effect?
That's what it literally says. Thanks. Okay, so I'm just going to read a little bit here. Statins are one of Big Pharma's biggest cash cows. In 2013, the pharmaceutical raked in a staggering $29 billion just from statin sales. Estimates suggest that nearly 1 out of every 4 Americans over the age of 45 takes a statin drug. Holy shit. I mean, a quarter of the country. Most believe that these drugs are lifesavers, healing their high cholesterol while keeping heart attacks at bay. But the savior status of statins is nothing more than a myth being pushed by Big Pharma. Further evidence shows that these drugs are more harmful than they are helpful. Par for the course when it comes to the pharmaceutical industry, no doubt.
Wait a second. But they lower cholesterol.
Oh, isn't that great?
If they lower it, then we should be safe.
Oh, we're fine. And here's how they sell it. They say, sure, these side effects suck balls. Okay, and let's talk about the side effects to statins, okay?
But wait a second. What am I at risk for if I have high cholesterol?
Well, they say heart attacks, strokes.
Okay, so if I'm at risk for a heart attack because I have high cholesterol, and then you give me a statin and my cholesterol goes down 100 points, and then you say, awesome, it worked, good job.
Yep. Now keep taking it forever.
Then why are all these people still dying?
Well, here's how they sell it. They say, sure, these side effects suck, which include Alzheimer's, dementia, and all types of things that...
And still dying of a heart attack.
And still dying. But they'll say, but you won't die of the ass-kicking widowmaker heart attack that you would have died of when you were 55. You might make it to 75. And you might die, get early onset Alzheimer's and all kinds of other horrible things. But at least you didn't die of the big ass-kicking heart attack when you were 56. That's the whole bargain. And people weigh it and they go, well, at least I lived till I was 75, and sure, I got dementia early, but at least I didn't die of that ass-kicking heart attack when I was 56. That's how they sell it.
Okie dokie.
Right. I don't want anything to do with either one of those things.
Right.
Right. So yeah, let's talk about some of the side effects. They're bad. Okay. And I'll put some articles in here. Say some research has also suggested that statin use can speed up the entire aging process. Even the FDA is aware of that many health risks associated with statin use, including increased risk of cognitive impairment and type 2 diabetes. I mean, holy shit. One of the side effects is elevated risk of type 2 diabetes.
And you know what else you can't do when you're on them? Exercise.
Really? Because is it
I don't know.
something bad happen,
I
or
guess.
does it affect your circulation, or
I don't know. They said when I was they're looking at giving it to me, and they just said, don't exercise.
what? So how's that
high
good for-
intensity?
How? Oh, well, how?
Oh, no. I take that back. They didn't say don't exercise. It said it will decrease performance
Oh, okay.
of your exercise.
So
Sorry.
that way, well, either way, your weightlifting is not going to be as effective then.
None of it is.
And that's what you want. Another key to longevity is having lean muscle mass. How are you supposed to build that if it's affecting your performance?
Right.
Here's another quote from The Dangers of Statin Drugs. This is from the Weston A. Price Foundation. I'll put all these articles in the show notes. It says, Dr. Gollum has found that 15% of statin patients develop some cognitive side effects. The most harrowing involved global transient amnesia, complete memory loss for a brief or lengthy period.
Worth it.
Described by former astronaut Dwayne. Ooh, his name's Dwayne even. Was it you?
Oh.
Did you forget you went to the moon?
Maybe. Fucking statin.
Described by former astronaut Dwayne Graveline in his book Lipitor, Thief of Memory. I mean, a guy wrote a whole friggin' book on it, on the side effects to this drug. And then one thing Ken Berry said, too, was that only after we introduced statin drugs did we see an Alzheimer's epidemic.
Oh.
I mean, again, correlation, not causation, but
correlate, yeah,
pretty damn coincidental.
Right.
Pretty damn coincidental that statin use almost tracks exactly with Alzheimer's epidemic. And one thing I learned from doing my research for this episode is how important cholesterol is to your brain.
Yep.
I mean, it needs it. So, and actually being low cholesterol is way worse.
Yeah.
Way worse for you than being high cholesterol.
Right.
Because, well, at least in my thinking, standard medical, professions thinking is that no, high cholesterol is worse. Really low cholesterol is bad, but high cholesterol will be worse because you're going to die of the ass-kicking widowmaker. But actually, that's where you start to see all the cognitive effects is when your cholesterol is depressed and it's too low. It's not getting the material that it needs to thrive, and your brain just thrives on cholesterol. So there's just a huge rabbit hole. And the funny thing is a lot of these articles are from like 15 years ago, like some of this West End Price stuff. I mean, they've been onto this. The research has been out there. They've known this stuff for a good 15 years. But, do you think that whoever makes Lipitor, which is they're probably the longest, best-selling drug that they've had in their entire career, do you think they're going to do anything to reduce the sales of that?
Of course not.
Of course not.
There's no money.
You're the perfect patient if you got
There's no
that.
money in healthy people. There's no money in dead people.
Exactly.
Got to keep them just hanging on in between.
That's why I love researching these doctors that look at real, true outcomes and want to do what's actually best for the patients and not just, and I don't know how doctors, I don't know my tinfoil hat on. I don't know about kickbacks and all this kind of stuff. I know most of that stuff's probably illegal, and I'm, doing air quotes here. But regardless, they're just misinformed. And talk amongst yourselves while I find this other quote that.
Well, I was just going to tell the story of the time. My cholesterol's somewhat elevated, but it's not to the point now where I need a statin. He doesn't even bring it up.
Right.
But I had, it ended up just being low blood sugar. But I was up in Hillsboro, and we were at a client's facility, and I started getting super dizzy.
Oh.
And I was like, and I needed literally lean against the wall. And I'm like, oh, it'll go away in a second. So the customer and one of my sales guys just kept chatting and talking about whatever we were talking about. And I got dizzy again. And
that's scary.
It wasn't going away.
Right.
And I couldn't shake it out. And I'm like, all right, I excused myself. I'm like, I got to go. And stupidly, I jumped in my truck and drove back to Fargo.
Right.
And I went straight to the ER. So I called Mel and I told her what was going on. She's like, oh, get in there then. So I was on my way, and I get in there, and I'm thinking, shit, high cholesterol.
Oh, you thought,
I'm like,
you're thinking that's
having
what
a
was
stroke or I'm having a heart attack. And so I get to the ER, and I told them the symptoms, and they're like, EKG stat. I mean,
They thought you were having a heart attack or something?
yeah. So they get in there and they run. This was an expensive visit, but
Expensive lesson.
yeah,
Yeah.
they did EKG. That's cheap. But they did an MRI of my heart and my head. And then they did a CAT scan.
When they did an MRI of your head, did they just see an organ grinder monkey just slamming two cymbals together?
No, actually not. That was weird. They should have. But they did all of the tests and I don't remember. I'm not a doctor, but all the tests they checked every blood vessel in my head, in my heart, everywhere.
Right. Looking for that heart attack.
Looking for where's the blockage. We're gonna find it. We got to go in there. And they came back into the waiting room and they go, "Yeah, you're flawless." They said there's no symptom of any even deterioration or any clogging or any, just no signs of anything.
Right.
And they said, so low blood sugar, they guessed, or
Here's a Snickers,
he
right?
said right. But he said we ruled out everything. Wow. So you're free to go.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I kept thinking,
But how did you recover? How did you get not dizzy? Did you just eat something or drink some orange juice? Or?
I was dehydrated.
Oh, okay.
Yep, I drank some water, but it was eye-opening. It was comforting,
Right.
to know that, because my mom passed away from an aneurysm, and to know that they looked in my brain,
Right.
and they looked at all those blood vessels and everything.
Didn't see anything alarming.
Yeah,
That's good.
but I have really high cholesterol, or I have elevated cholesterol.
Yep.
So I don't want to embellish. I don't have high cholesterol, but
Because you dropped your weight.
because it's elevated. So why was all of that stuff perfect?
Exactly. Oh, that deserves a truth bomb, bitch.
So I don't know.
That's right.
Everyone's different.
Everyone's different, but, don't just blindly accept what your doctor says. Do some research. I'm just going to read this little paragraph from the Weston A. Price article where she kind of sums it up. And this was from 2008, by the way. So we're talking 13 years ago. It says, in conclusion, cholesterol is one of the most important substances in the body. We cannot live without it, let alone function well. The pernicious diet heart hypothesis has vilified this essential substance. Unfortunately, this hypothesis has served many commercial and political interests far too well, so they ensure its long survival. However, the life of the diet heart hypothesis is coming to an end as we become aware that cholesterol has been mistakenly blamed for the crime just because it was found at the scene. That sums it up right there. So that's really, we're talking about cholesterol being measured and kind of how your diet affects it. Now let's talk about the other version of bad cholesterol, which is when it's in your family. Okay. So
That's hyperfamilia.
Familial hypercholesterolemia.
And that's, remember my buddy
shit.
Carlos that we were going to have on?
Yeah.
He's literally an expert in that.
Okay. Well, this article here again I think it's from the Weston A. Price Foundation, which is basically, of course, it's a low carb type viewpoint.
Sure.
So you got to take that in consideration. But that's the one where people think, well, I'm just fucked. I got high cholesterol in my family and I'm destined for the Widowmaker. I'm screwed. So what it says at the title of the article is not as risky as you may think. It says many doctors believe that most patients with familial hypercholesterolemia, we'll just call it FH from here on out, die from CHD, coronary heart disease, at a young age. Obviously, they do not know the surprising finding of the scientific steering community at the Department of Public Health and Primary Care at Radcliffe Infirmary in Oxford, England. The view was recently confirmed by Dr. Eric Sibryans and his coworkers from various medical departments in Amsterdam and Leiden, Netherlands. Out of a large group, they found 3 individuals with very high cholesterol. A genetic analysis confirmed the diagnosis of FH, and by tracing their family members backward in time, they came up with a total of 412 individuals. The coronary and total mortality of these members were compared with the mortality of the general Dutch population. The striking finding was that those who lived during the 19th and early 20th century had normal mortality and lived a normal lifespan. After 1915, the mortality rose to a maximum between 35 and 64, but even at peak, mortality was less than twice as high as in the general population. That's kind of interesting, right?
It is.
I mean, and I think what happens here is the people that die, maybe it's sort of a selection bias, because if you die and you have that, then that gets kind of indicated as the potential cause.
Yeah.
They don't catch all the people that have high cholesterol and live to be 102 and just had familial,
right,
whatever,
yeah,
hypocholesterolemia, whatever they call it, FH. They have that high cholesterol in their genetics, and they live to be 102 and don't ever get diagnosed, and they don't die from it, so the flag doesn't get raised up the pole.
Right.
So
another thing up what you're laying down. Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah. So it's a lot of really good articles. I mean, I learned a ton on this, and I definitely, luckily, just because I'm kind of woke to this kind of stuff,
don't ever say that again.
Good woke. I can see with my third eye.
Hashtag so woke.
When I got my doctor's results, which I'm holding up here, I didn't just blindly.
Your formerly nicotine-stained hands.
Exactly.
Tribute to Rush.
My formerly carb-stained hands. Yeah, I didn't just blindly accept what he said, and I learned a ton doing this research.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah, so don't be afraid of cholesterol, and just kind of know your stuff. Remember, that's having high elevated cholesterol is like having a BB gun pointed at your leg. If you're going to concern yourself with something, concern yourself with the shotgun pointed at your heart, which is your elevated blood glucose and your visceral fat. Take care of those things.
Right.
If you want to really actually worry about what's going to actually have horrible, serious outcomes.
Agreed.
All right. Well, that was a solid hour on cholesterol. Hopefully you aren't bored out there. So now we're going to talk about my favorite segment of the week, which is How Fat is Josh? All right.
Stomped over it.
I always do that. All right. Why don't you get out the old tape? Interesting story this week, too. After I did my body fat percentage check at the college, I posted the picture.
Yeah.
I just did a shirtless picture, and it's told people to guess. Shake it right above the old belly button there. I told people to guess what they thought I was. 36, still the same.
Old and even.
I'm sort of plateaued here. All right, so my waist is 36. I did drop 2 pounds this week, though. So I'm still at 19.6 down.
It's still really legit.
11.4% body fat percentage change and 5.5 inches on the waist since January 14th. So I feel like I'm killing it, and I feel like recomposition is happening. But the interesting story was, so I posted the shirtless picture along with the reference to the different body fat percentages on Facebook.
Yep.
And I said, guess winner gets a free t-shirt from our Furious merch site. So that got a lot of engagement. Got a ton of people guessing. And and I don't think people were just trying to be nice. I think people thought I was way leaner than I actually was.
Isn't that telling?
It was very telling.
I did too.
Very telling, because turns out I was 21.4 according to the dunk tank and the in-body scan.
Right.
And the doctor guessed I was around 20. So he was, between his visualization and those two methods, I feel like that's pretty accurate. But almost people were guessing like 12, 30, everybody was like way under 20. Most of the guesses were way under 20. So, and I don't think they were just trying to be kind.
No, I know what it was. But you tell me your theory, and I'll tell you my theory.
I think people just have no concept of, they think that I looked fairly lean, but actually I'm at the high end of what's considered, I'm just over the normal range. 21.4 was like still in the heavy category. So compared to your average American, I might be under my body fat percentage is a little lower. So that's what leads them to guess low.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, just a little more frontal. But it's true. They saw you and they said,
This guy's lean.
well, I'm fatter than him, and I'm like 20. So he's got to be like 12.
Yes. So it's all perspective relativism.
Yep.
Because
It's like, no, he's 21.4.
And you're 36.
Yeah, exactly. You might be 45.
you might be 45. Yeah, you might be half fat.
Right.
Yeah, your weight might be half body fat.
Yep.
That's sad but true, but I think that's really what's going on. And I'm not trying to brag because I'm just out here for science, right?
Right.
So I don't care if it was 50 or 5% or whatever. I just wanted the number. But that was very telling that people were guessing way low. And I'm really at 21.4, which is above, considered elevated and in the risky category.
Right.
So the doctor still said you need to lose 13.8 more pounds of body fat in order to get in that good range, which is under 20 basically is what for my age and gender and everything was under 20. So
that's like 30.
man, that's pretty damn lean.
That's like 35 pounds from where you started.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I got a ways to go. And the sad part is, as you can see by the tracker here, I've kind of leveled off. And it's, it gets tougher. I mean, what I'm having trouble
we
with.
talked about it in the Seco episode. You can't just keep cutting calories because you'll keep chasing your tail.
I think that's what's happening. See, okay, I did some research on this too because I think that's what's happening. Mm-hmm. There's a very interesting guy on YouTube called More Plates, More Dates. His channel, he's like a buff bodybuilder guy, but he's way into the science of this shit. He's a funny dude too, but he's like openly talks about steroids and stuff.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So he's just lays it out.
Yeah.
And he had a great video on this topic of basically you have to be under the right amount. Because if you're we always talk about the 500 calorie deficit per day
right.
to lose a pound a week, nice, slow and steady. But I think I was being too extreme and being too under, and then my metabolism adjusted.
Hit the brakes.
Said, whoa, we need to store. So I got to find that balance of 500 under, but not 1,000 under, not 1,500 under. Because if I'm working out I'm doing push-ups every morning and pull-ups now. I got a pull-up bar in my house.
Really? Can you do pull-ups?
I can do 6.
Attaboy.
I did 6.
Chin-ups or pull-ups?
Well, like.
That's a chin-up.
This to that.
That's a chin-up.
This to that. What's a pull-up? This?
Yeah, a little wider than shoulder.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, I can do chin-ups, 6 chin-ups.
That's good, though.
It's not bad, considering I'm freaking 50. And,
almost 50.
Still need to lose weight. So I'm doing, push-ups and pull-ups every morning. And then I'm doing dumbbell workouts every other day.
Love it.
That's a pretty decent amount of exercise.
That's awesome.
So I'm probably burning more calories than I think. So I actually need to eat more.
Right.
And that's very counterintuitive.
It is. It's
because I think my metabolism was down-regulating and adjusting.
It was for sure. Now you need to reverse diet.
So but the trick is you gotta eat the right stuff. So for me, that's more red meat.
No, you don't. Just count your macros.
I gotta eat 2,000 calories of cake, bitches. Cake.
Doesn't matter.
That's right.
As long as you're in a deficit. Just get in that deficit.
Yep. So that's why you got to know your numbers though, because if you don't know what your total daily energy expenditure and your basal metabolic rate are, how do you know how much to eat?
You don't.
And then
throwing darts at a wall.
You are, and you don't know. You got to kind of start learning like how many calories is in this size of steak, or in your average egg is like 70 or what. You got to learn this stuff. Because I thought eggs had way more calories, but they only have like 70.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus, I need to eat like 20 of these. Yeah. I was eating 2 eggs and a couple pieces of bacon, and I was satiated, and I was like, that ain't enough calories.
Right.
Not even close.
No.
So moral of the story, you got to know your numbers, people. And you're probably not as lean as you think you are, because I definitely...
No. You're not.
You're not.
Don't sugarcoat it.
No.
You're not as lean as you think you are.
Exactly.
You have way more weight to lose than you think you do. If I had a dime, I wouldn't need to work. But if I had a dime for every time some dude came to me and said, just want to lose, a couple of that 15, 16 vanity pounds. I'm like, dude, you need to lose 100 pounds And I'm not shitting you.
Legit?
Legit.
They were that off?
100 pounds.
They were that far off?
Yes.
Holy shit.
Just a few vanity pounds.
And they want to lose it just from the gut, right?
Yeah. Oh, we got and make sure that I can spot reduce.
Yeah. Well, that is a serious talk about, people taking advantage of people in fitness trends and stuff. That's a huge one.
Oh, spot reduction?
Oh, thinking that
such a scam.
Thinking that
you don't get to decide where it comes from.
There's even, remember those stupid things from the 50s where they just went,
oh yeah.
And you like the rubber, the belt is just going, and
Yep.
like that's gonna
Give
somehow work out your freaking gut. Give me a break.
They all had abs anyway.
Yeah, they were lean compared to us nowadays. Right. Jesus Christ. There's a couple other things too, back to the cholesterol stuff. There's a couple cholesterol sites where you can plug in your numbers and just see where you're at. One was cvriskcalculator.com. And there's also the cholesterol code site. And I'll put both links in the show notes. And that's like the modern, the keto, low carb kind of version of assessing your numbers and what your risk is truly based on the various numbers. So if you want to know where you really stand, use those calculators. All right, guys. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up for this week, and make sure you send us emails, info@FitandFurious. If you got questions, we love to answer them, just like we did this week for Joanne in Ames, Iowa.
Love the fitness question. Keep those coming.
Yeah. Ask us about diet, fitness, any of this stuff. Make sure you watch on YouTube to watch all the shenanigans and valuable visuals and weekly extra content. Check us out. We're Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are found. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share. Support the show. Go to FuriousMerch.com. You can get this sweet baby I just uploaded and designed the other day and ordered it 2 days ago off Amazon. Boom, here it is.
It's crazy.
2 days later. I mean, we live in the future, bro.
You're going to wash it and give it to an infant.
Yeah, by the way, this is a medium, and it's like baggy in the gut now.
Medium.
Yeah. All right, so go to FuriousMerch.com, get T-shirts, all kinds of carnivore and keto-centered shirts there, and we will see you next week.